MH370 and the possible scandal that surrounds it. There is a lot of skepticism about what actually might or might not have happened to this plane. We're all familiar with the story so far. Most recently they said they found 122 objects floating in the South Indian Ocean. These were spotted via satellite, and the Malaysian Defense Minister Hishamuddin Hussein says that these objects are the most credible lead that they have to date. The objects were found about 2,557 kilometers southwest of Perth, Australia. So people are relying on this information about the floating objects to dictate where the plane may or may not have gone down, and that's the issue that a lot of people have problems with. Of course, the U.S. Navy is involved. They're using towed sonar arrays, which can drop to as deep as 20,000 feet to listen for pings from the plane's black box and transponders that may still be going off until the batteries die, as well as listening for sonar bounces from the crash plane itself. The problem is that the ship that's going to be towing the array has to move so slow that it's only going to be covering about 1,000 ocean meters per hour in order to be of any effect. They say that conventional submarines can't go deep enough to get a good look. So, in regard to that, I'm thinking maybe that they should call out. Maybe they should call out James Cameron. He's spent a lot of time, in the deep ocean in areas that.
Are you done?
Places where people didn't think anybody could go. So I think that it'd be a good idea. Maybe they should call him out. I mean, people say that it sounds like I'm joking when I say that, but I'm not really. He definitely has some experience, with the Titanic issue and the time he spent looking for the Titanic, and he spent his own money going down there to film it. And him and his resources could probably certainly be of a great deal of help for that purpose. So I think they should give it a try, give him a call, and see what he has to say. So basically though, when we're talking about the debris from the plane, what they have had to come up with is that the debris is essentially unidentified. I mean, they spotted it by satellite, French satellite, Chinese satellite, confirmed it in a different location days later, but nobody's found it. They just have some size estimates on parts of the debris, so nobody could say what the debris was, where it came from, and they say with the winds and the currents that the debris could be from basically anywhere and from any direction. The Malaysian government, in some crazy, goofy idea, thought that it was appropriate to notify families of the possibly deceased passengers of the plane via text message that the plane had definitely crashed and that all the passengers were definitely dead, even though they have no evidence to support that claim whatsoever. According to website Slate.com, the families of the passengers were marching on the Malaysian embassy and protesting because the government claimed claim that basically the math of the plane's trajectory, in regard to its fuel consumption and stuff, there's absolute 100% proof that all the people were dead. You can't make a claim like that until you know for sure, especially in a text message to people. I guess having no evidence really pissed people off, and it probably should have too. One of the kickers, though, to the whole debris story is that on Saturday morning of March 8th, 2014, the MH370 sent out 7 replies to a satellite ping, which is to a satellite that pinged the plane, basically sending out a signal to any air traffic in the area, just basically asking the plane if it's there, and the plane essentially responds, yes. It just wants to see if the plane is still online, even though the pilot officially cut communications and the transponder was officially turned off. The satellite was still able to ping the plane, and the plane responded with a yes. So the NTSB has used this information to calculate where the plane was in the South Indian Ocean and its possible trajectory based on those 7 ping responses. Now everybody is assuming that the plane crashed in the South Indian Ocean, but what they don't mention in a lot of the reports is the alternative, which is the possible northern trajectory of the plane that it could have taken once the first ping response was applied to. They assumed it was headed south, but the pings from the satellite reveal information which only tells the satellite how far away from the satellite the plane was when it responded to the ping. What this means is that the plane could be flying north, northwest, northeast, east, south, any direction from the first ping location. They have no way of confirming for sure that the plane continued on its southern trajectory. So, if the plane did continue on this northern track, which is a possibility that must be considered carefully, you have to remember that its northern trajectory would have taken it into the Himalayas, right past the Himalayas, into Kazakhstan. Now remember, Russia is engaged in a political action which the U.S. is publicly opposed to. And this is all kind of coming to a head around the same time that the plane disappeared, which just happened to have 20 employees of a U.S. company on board. Now, of course, this is all speculation, but it is something that people from our government should consider. If the plane was heading north along its possible northern trajectory, it could have passed into the airspace of Kazakhstan. Now, conveniently, Kazakhstan has taken a mild to passive public approach to the incident with Russia and Crimea. There are some questions out there about whether or not Russia is going to try to reclaim all of its former states that it had when it was the Soviet Union. So, could Kazakhstan be afraid of another quote-unquote involuntary annexation? If so, could they be harboring, say, a missing plane and its passengers for another country like maybe Russia under the threat of invasion and involuntary annexation? I mean, you be the judge. Let's remember that many of the former Soviet states are afraid of Russian annexation because of the large number of Russian people living in these various states. which is one of the reasons that Russia gave for wanting to reclaim Crimea. They said they were doing it for because of the number of Russian people that still live in that state, among other reasons. But if they're using that as a reason, these other states certainly have a reason to fear Russia. So, Russia moved very slowly towards this takeover of Crimea in terms of how the public saw it. So, from 26 February to about 25 March of 2014 is the amount of time that it kind of took. So, there's a lot of countries weary of saying no. So, if I was working for the government and I was investigating this, I would consider the possibility that perhaps there was someone on the plane that some other government wanted. I would consider the northern trajectory. I would consider its maximum flight time. I would look for possible landing locations, close to, airstrips with hangars nearby that can house a hijacked plane. I would look at the lives and the skill sets and the jobs of the people that were on board the plane. And I would compare that to any possible need that a country may have for some type of technical expertise, and see if it's possible that one of the places where this plane could have landed may, say, be an area where in the past some work may have been done by the government that specialized in the expertise of some of these people. Anyway, this is all speculation, and it's just a theory of mine and a couple other people that we came up with. But, it's no coincidence that Russia invades the Ukraine. China doesn't want sanctions against Russia. A Chinese satellite is one of the most recent to, quote-unquote, discover floating debris that can't be identified. Also, Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah of the missing plane was a supporter of the opposition party to the ruling regime of his country and was in court when the leader of his opposition party was convicted of a sex crime, which he was supposed to have been falsely accused. So, if anybody thinks that this plane just happened to get lost or crash, or that this was all accidental in some way, you're fooling yourself. So, anyway, I'm going to get off this tangent, and I'm going to come back to this later with some more technical information in a later podcast. And I'm going to play another song for you. You guys like the Red Hot Chili Peppers? I hope so, because so do I.